any responsibility is what drives it, and that's why they're like,
ugh. It's an unwatchable show. Anyway, for my garbage person of the week, I've got a classic for you, and it is going to be Elon Musk, because of his most recent announcement that his company is working on a humanoid robot that will build a prototype sometime next year. You can see a photo of it. We'll go to, the photo looks perfectly fine. My issue is that Elon Musk and Tesla, who have gobbled up every engineer in the country that has ungodly amounts of money, some of it given by the government, continues to do this stupid BS. And I know what you're probably thinking. Oh wait, John, you're acting as if this is serious. I think it's just a joke or whatever. Sure, I'm sure there's a good chance it's just a joke, and that's kind of part of the problem. That, like, I don't know, the company that has the most potential to do significant things just constantly jokes around, or maybe not. The flamethrower was supposed to be a joke and then he made it. Most of these things are just jokes until he puts tons of time and resources and thought and engineers into it. I tweeted about this. I have a simple request. It's a complex idea. Maybe he could put his best engineers on it. And it is, could your car company make a car people can afford? That would be a great problem to crack. It's not a walking robot, but it could actually help some people. It might improve the country, but no, that's not as fun as coming up with jokes or stealing memes or talking about your boring company that after years made a tunnel that one car could go through or whatever. He's the genius, I know, and more importantly, he's surrounded himself with actual geniuses, but this is the stupid BS that he does. And it annoys me in multiple ways. One, that there are actual problems that his group has the talent to solve. And two, that in making a mockery of all this, he makes me not excited for humanoid robots or space travel or flamethrowers or whatever. I want to be able to enjoy those things, but he's ruined it because of all the wasted potential. I'm not even going into the details about it, about the stupid robot, because he's not gonna make it. They still don't have self-driving cars that actually work. He's gonna make a robot that walks around. It's a slightly different thing, but he acts as if everything is a joke, and it's just, there are actual crises. We need our best minds on them. Brett, tell me how I'm the bad guy. I'm
John,
sure I'm the bad guy.
Well, you've seen Ex Machina so many times that I just can't believe you on this.
I've seen it like 3 times.
All right, I've seen it like 5 times.
It's a very good movie.
Such a good movie. But if the robot wasn't so hot, I'd be on your side. But there's something about that sleek.
What?
Just that sleek bod. It's eye-catching.
Strapless tunic. You are now
it
my
dresses
garbage.
like Marjorie Tyrell.
It does dress like Marjorie. It's the Taquito 2000 that we've got there. Anyway, yeah, he's not gonna make it. I hate him. I just hate him. I hate everything about him. Anyway,
and his promotion was like, it's a robot that won't fight back, and just like flailing to be like, fight back like what? A wife, a slave, a worker, a what? What is the won't fight back? Benefit of the doubt. You're saying like, this is not an android that will cause the end of the world.
That's good branding. Anyway, that's my garbage person. But more importantly, what did you all think? So 26,000 of you voted in our poll this week, and here are your top 5. Coming in at number 5 with 4% of the vote is Charlie Kirk for his comments about Ilhan Omar. He only got 4% because he's the worst and nobody likes him. Even the people who hate these people don't really care that much about him. That is Charlie Kirk. Coming in at number 4 with 10% of the vote is Sean Hannity for using the crisis in Afghanistan to sell products. Thankfully, it looks like that has ended for now. Number 3 with 17% of the vote, Representative Boebert for praising the Taliban for building back better. Ugh. Number 2 with 21% of the vote, Tucker Carlson for immediately vilifying Afghan refugees. That seems like a big, I never can guess who's gonna win. I thought that would have won. But your garbage person of the week, chosen by the community with 47% of the vote, is the GOP for scrubbing the Trump-Taliban deal from their website. And look, substantively, trying to bamboozle people into not understanding how broad the blame for the situation there is worthy of it. So thank you to all of you who voted. Thank you, Brett, for joining us on this Friday edition of the Damage Report. It's great to have you here.
Great to be here, John. Thank you so much, and thanks to the D Squad and all the mods.
Thank you. You can watch them on Comment Room later on. For now, though, stay safe out there. Stay sane out there. I'll see you soon.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Indisputable. Good to be with you. Let me first start the show by saying this. Yesterday, there was a post on YouTube from one of the segments of this show. That post contained a derogatory word that I completely and 100% disagree with. As soon as I saw it, I alerted those who were involved in the production of it, and I made sure it was changed. Now, the buck stops with me. There is no one else to blame. There is no one else to look for. The buck stops right here with me. It is my responsibility, even if it's not my fault. What I want to say to those that may have been offended by that terminology, I'm sorry. And I hope that the trust that I've garnered over this time with you means something. You know that we believe in diversity, we believe in equity, we believe in fairness. What you saw yesterday was not our best. You deserve our best, and you'll get our best. Ladies and gentlemen, we got a lot of show today. Breaking down news of the day, I got my big homie, David Shuster, TYT contributor. And in the bullpen, my debate guest will be none other than radio personality Shelley Wynter, talking about social media suspensions. And we may get into some COVID-19 news of the day as well. Let me give you my top story. There's a black woman who has been knocked unconscious by a sheriff's deputy. That's according to a federal lawsuit. This arrest was violent. This arrest was unnecessary. Her name is Nakia Porter. She's 33 years of age, a software engineer. She is suing Solano County Police Department in Northern California for her violent arrest last summer. I want to go to these videos, okay? Let's go to the first video. What you're watching in that video is real simple. The young lady is switching sides with her father. That's all they're doing. They pulled over in order to switch who's driving, nothing more. Now, I want to also remind you, children are in the back seat. You have 3 children total inside of this vehicle. You have her father, and you have this young 33-year-old engineer. Here's what happens next.
We're about to switch drivers.
Read me my rights.
King 6 starts the 3rd. Put your hands behind your back.
Put your hands
behind your back.
I am not arrested. Arrest.
Okay. So as you heard the father say, we're just trying to switch drivers here, okay? They decided to go ahead and arrest her. Now, I want to remind you, charges were dismissed. She did not have different license tags on her car that should have been there, but that was according to the initial police report, really a prerequisite in order to engage them criminally. And here's what happened that caused her to go unconscious.
Get on her stomach now. You're gonna get tased.
How does she get it open?
She slipped it. Double lock. Okay. King 6, we still have a male in the front passenger seat. The X-ray is detained, but we still need cover.
Sorry.
It's fine.
Copy, you have an X-ray detained and a male in the passenger seat.
King 6, stars 11,
I can't get
41, code 3. The X-ray, I believe she's unconscious.
Yeah, she was unconscious. You're right, because of your violence. You're correct, officer. She's completely unconscious. Let me give you some more background to this story. Body cameras worn by the deputies with the Solano County Sheriff's Office recorded them pulling guns on Nakia Porter before slamming her to the pavement while handcuffing her along a rural road in the town of Dixon on the night of August 6, 2020. Porter's father, his name is Joe Powell, was also placed in handcuffs and briefly detained. Now, neither one of them did anything illegal whatsoever, okay? None of them. It gets deeper. Porter was jailed overnight on suspicion of resisting arrest. You gotta be kidding me. But never charged. She said the ordeal was confusing and dehumanizing. Look at this beautiful family. Let's put a picture of the family up. Look at that beautiful family. I want to remind you, the kids were in the back seat witnessing this whole thing, okay? On the night of August 6, 2020, Porter was traveling back home to Orangevale from a trip to Oakland with her father, 2 daughters and a niece. She and her father were switching seats so that he could drive when the police squad car pulled up behind their vehicle, according to CBS News Bay Area. Porter says that during the arrest, she was knocked unconscious and dragged to the back of a police car. The deputy's squad car pulled up behind them with lights flashing. This is how it first started. Porter already was out of the car and explained they were just switching drivers and would be on their way according to the court filing. Remember, they have filed in federal court against these deputies. The deputy said they noticed the car had mismatched license plates, a California plate on the back of the car, and one from Maryland on the front. However, the deputies had called in the rear license plate to their dispatch and knew that it matched the description of the car and that there was no report of the car being stolen, according to the filing. Wow, they were well aware that there was nothing wrong with this vehicle at all. McCampbell, that's the person who had the gun drawn, ordered Porter back to the driver's side, and he and his partner moved to detain her, according to the edited body camera footage. The Associated Press reports that the body cameras worn by the police recorded them pulling guns on Porter before slamming her to the pavement. They also handcuffed her 61-year-old father. And you heard on that video, when they realized that she was unconscious, the cop says, I think she's unconscious. Yeah, because that's what you did to her, okay? Complete overkill, 100% unnecessary. Dehumanizing is not even the word to describe it. David, how do you see this, my friend?
I'm so infuriated and I'm so saddened by this stuff that it happens day after day. Obviously, white cops, black family in the car. The cops could have, look, I'm fine with the police turning on their flashing lights to the point at which, the woman gets out of the car, they say, hey, we're just switching seats. And the cop should have said, okay, can we just check out a couple of things? But instead, there is a presumption of police fearing the worst based on the skin color of who they pull over, and it is disgusting. I hope the Porter family is able to sue this county for millions of dollars. And to me, this justifies why we need a national database so that cops like McCampbell and that other jackass, so that they get recorded into a database so they can never get hired again in any law enforcement capacity ever. It is disgusting. This has to come to an end. At a certain point, every county in America is gonna have to come to terms and say, we are doing something terribly wrong with our police. There's something institutionally flawed about this culture in police where they suspect the worst instead of protecting and serving. They have a responsibility to de-escalate, not to escalate. That didn't happen in this case. To me, this is a slam dunk case for the lawsuit, and everybody in this county ought to be embarrassed.
Absolutely, man, and you brought up something very important because there is a solution on the table. It's called the George Floyd Policing and Accountability Act. Well, that act would actually require a uniform reporting policy to report officers like this, even if they are still on the job. It would mandate a reporting mechanism be in place. We know transparency equals typically a better policy. And that's why we fought for cameras to be a regular as it relates to the institution of policing. We've been fighting to make sure that anytime there's a complaint on a cop, there's a way for the public to be able to view that. And we need this national uniform policy for policing in the United States. It's only good, not only for policing, but it's good also for the citizens of this country because their public trust has been completely evaporated because of incidents like this and more. Let me shift gears. You know, a lot of these individuals who are anti-mask are extremely racist. They are very racist people. Let me bring your attention to a mask mandate drama that unfolded in Michigan, okay? This is Birmingham, Michigan, not Birmingham, Alabama, Birmingham, Michigan. The police are investigating where a man who gave the Nazi salute during a school meeting committed a hate crime. The meeting was already filled with anti-maskers who booed and spewed insults at anyone in favor of the mask mandate. You know who they did not boo? This guy. They didn't boo him. The Nazi guy. No, he gets no boos at all. He gets praised, okay? While a black woman and Jewish woman were addressing the board about their support for the mask policy, a man in the audience flashed the Nazi salute and repeated "Hail Hitler." Two men behind him also uttered the phrase. They're supporting him, okay? Suzanne Besdiker attended the meeting and witnessed the incident. She said a friend was giving a speech in support of a school mask mandate about how she had lost a loved one to COVID-19. Very familiar story to many. The friend had already been heckled through her emotional speech. When Besdiker and the friend turned to leave the podium, they saw the gesture from a man standing in the audience. Suzanne said, and I quote, "And there was this man that raised his hand in the Hail Hitler sign, not just kind of froze. I'm Jewish. I don't take that lightly. It's now under investigation whether he committed a hate crime. The person in the audience who gave the salute on Tuesday night was immediately removed from the meeting and building by the Beverly Hills Police Department. The police questioned the man during the meeting and are investigating whether he committed a hate crime. In a letter to parents, the superintendent said that the Birmingham Public Schools emphatically denounces and will not tolerate any act of racism, disrespect, violence, and or inequitable treatment of any person, including actions and statements made at Board of Education meetings." But here's the thing, ladies and gentlemen, this is not an isolated situation. This is common with these anti-mask, anti-vax crowds. In a town outside of Pittsburgh on August 9th, a man there flashed a Nazi salute after board members approved a universal mask mandate, according to the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette. Now, here's a compilation video of statements from anti-masker parents that always receive applause.
BPS has decided to mask up our children, but once again, your announcement has fallen short of providing evidence, data, which we have continuously asked for, science, common sense, and now human decency. Forced mask mandates for something that has an almost 0% chance of killing them is child abuse. So I have to ask, why are you really doing this? It's not to protect our kids, they don't need it. It's not to protect adults because they can get a COVID vaccine if they want to. And many of us have the antibodies. So what is the reason? If you ask me, I'd say you do it to protect yourselves politically, period.
It's gonna end.
Never.
Our children will never see the freedoms that we enjoyed growing up. They are not even free to breathe fresh air. If God wanted us to cover our mouth and nose, he would have made us that way.
My daughter will not be subjected to what she was to last year. Our daughter is healing, and we will not interrupt this process for her. We will be, because of the mandate, pulling her out of BPS schools. I don't know if any of you were abused or put in a situation you did not want to be in as a child, either emotionally, physically, or mentally, but I was. And it took me years to recover. I know Josephine's story may be the only one you hear tonight, but I wonder how many other students are suffering in silence
Yeah, ma'am, your child is suffering under you. Abuse, child abuse. You gotta be kidding me. There are real monsters in this world. And there are real victims in this world. Having a child wear a mask in order to protect themselves from a debilitating virus is not child abuse. You invalidate, or at least attempt to invalidate, the stories, the authentic stories of children that have gone through actual abuse. That's what you're doing. Now, remember, ladies and gentlemen, these are the same people. These anti-mask individuals are the same people who would prefer to take your choice away. Remember, they're not just holding rallies and talking at board meetings. They're ripping off masks of teachers. They're physically assaulting those that wear masks. They're threatening on camera in anyone who believes that masks work. David, you see what's happening here, brother. What are your thoughts?
Oh, my thoughts are it's sickening if these are parents, right? And I'll start with the low-hanging fruit. There was the mom who said, if God wanted us, if God had made us, if God wanted us to have something over our face, he would have made us that way. And she's speaking with glasses on, and she's speaking through a microphone, okay? So that's the first problem. Secondly, the whole point, as far as I can tell from some of these anti-maskers, is they don't want to cause any emotional or psychological damage to the kids having to wear masks. Okay, did you ask the kids if it's okay? Because most kids who are in elementary school, they don't have a problem with it. And by the way, if we're so concerned about emotional and psychological damage, then maybe you shouldn't be giving the Heil Hitler salute. Maybe you shouldn't be making such a fool of yourself in front of your kids and in front of your entire community. That is where the psychological damage is being caused by these parents who are anti-science, by these parents who are literally off the charts. These kids are so terrified and embarrassed of their parents. That's where the damage is being caused. It's not the masks. And at a certain point, the parents need to step back and say, fine, you have an opinion about this? Let's have a calm, rational, reasonable, fact-based, science-based debate, if there is a debate. But to go off the deep end like this, that is truly sickening and disturbing.
Very well said, brother. We got more on the other side. It's indisputable, stick and stay.
I'm old enough that I remember when Captain Crunch put the berries in it.
Yay, crunch berries!
And I was like, ooh, the fake berries.
Remember?
We're gonna try that.
We did a story back in the day about how a woman sued, I don't know, General Mills.
She'd been eating it for 4 years, believing that it was actual berries. Yeah, she's like, these aren't real berries at all. Yeah. I'm like, I got news for you, Captain Crunch isn't really a captain or a person. Joining me now, legendary whistleblower and American hero, Edward Snowden. First question is, hey, where are you?
I'm in my apartment in Moscow.
All of a sudden, in the studio, Jim Gaffigan, everybody.
Mental illness is, completely undiagnosed in our society.
It's not about a particular administration. It's about a broken system of power, and through that, really, the instrumentalization of a system of not justice, but injustice.
People understand whether they claim to deny climate change or not. Our collective house is in crisis. We're also dealing with the legacy of 40 years of economic policies that have made people's lives more precarious.
Sometimes you got to force people into their humanity. Sometimes you have to shake people into empathy.
Senator Elizabeth Warren joins us in the studio.
Healthcare is a basic human right, and we are fighting for basic human rights.
In order to actually achieve that vision of everyone having access to the same resources and getting to determine the outcome of their life, we have a lot of work to do, and it needs to start right now.
Here's something you may not know. When you deposit your money in a big bank, it doesn't just sit, safe and secure, in a vault. Instead, your money could end up building oil pipelines, mining for coal, or drilling in the Arctic. So if you're concerned about the planet, give your money something good to do. Make the move to green with Aspiration's fossil fuel-free account and join the thousands each week who are switching to save their dollars and save the planet at the same time.
Welcome to the Damage Report. I'm John Idarola. This is gonna be a big one.
What Donald Trump has done as president has cut taxes for the wealthy and made life better for rich people. But he's made life worse for poor people.
We're making America great again by throwing more money at the military to destroy other countries because that makes us great instead of investing it in ourselves.
That it's Donald Trump and it's Stephen Miller. The choosing is based on wanting to create cruel and inhumane conditions to scare other people away from ever coming to the United States.
The opportunity to make money off of tragedy is the American way.
There is only one place to put garbage people: in the trash.
We've never had so much access to so much information with so little idea of what the hell is going on.
What does enforcing our borders have to do with traumatizing children? Absolutely nothing.
I think a sane person could say the current situation we have right now is radical. But what we're doing is literally making the world more like hell. That's a warning sign.
ShopTYT.com now has books. One of them is Ryan Grimm's book, We've Got People. That's a saying that AOC said, they've got money, we've got people. It's the best tracing of the AOC victory I have seen anywhere. It's the most accurate, and it's got great details. The book actually goes all the way back to Jesse Jackson and how he's the original Bernie Sanders. If you want to know how we're going to win going forward, those lessons are super important, and they're in Ryan's book. So check it out right now at ShopTYT.com.
We found the perfect person to lead the army, Allison Hartson.
The establishment media works hand in glove with our corporate legislators, and our corporate legislators work hand in glove with the corporation. And we're going to make it so that it's a decentralized force throughout the country, so that we can quickly identify stories, quickly identify troll farms, and go in and neutralize the enemy, and then start building responsible media throughout the country and on every platform available.
All right, welcome back. We got a lot of viewer comments. Let's get to it. I feel good that it's Friday, by the way. I hope you all are having a remarkable Friday. Thank you all for chiming in. Let's get it. TYT member Mickey C. the Silver Hair Dragon says, yes, there needs to be a national database, but there must be penalties like losing funding for hiring repeat offenders. Otherwise, far too many departments will use it to happily hire the racist and most violent ones that reflect the customs of that department. You may have a point there, right? That some police departments would actually say, hey, this is your hiring list, rather than being shamed into hiring those people. We've seen people recruit based on that before. So you make a good point. Let's go to Land of 10,000 Rinks. I wish TYT would also have a David Shuster show.
Oh, I don't know about that. I don't think people want that. I'm perfectly happy being a guest and letting you guys do the heavy lifting, Dr. Richie and your producers, Jordan, everybody else. This is the appropriate place for me. Everybody should just watch Dr. Richie. Be satisfied that you got Dr. Richie on TYT. Be satisfied, be happy.
Well, brother, I echo what that viewer said, man. You would have a remarkable show. YouTube super chat, Robert Ryder, thank you for that very generous gift. A donation in memory of my father, James Ryder, and in memory of one of my favorite Brit comedians, John Locke. Well, thank you for that so much. Jeffrey Ritchie says, Dr. Ritchie, my wife was brutalized by police in 2013. We sued in federal court, damn qualified immunity. And that's exactly the barrier that we're trying to fight. Sorry that happened to your wife and you, Jeffrey. Kelly O'Hara says, this is my poet. Too many adults acting like kids. Guess their development hit the skids. Wearing a mask shouldn't be a big ask. Know your role and cover your hole. Okay, that's good. I like it, Kelly. Non-human humanist says probably the parents should also receive free science-based public education. In some counties, it's not only free, but you get paid for it. That's true. There are some programs that will pay you. Bernie the Kiwi Dragon. God made us naked. Why is that parent wearing clothes? Also, fresh air. In a country that keeps ripping up its environmental regulations, these parents need to be sent back to school. Yeah, I agree 100%. Jake's Dragon says, my special needs 9-year-old was physically bullied repeatedly. He, a child, was expected to de-escalate those situations. He was suspended when he fought back, but adult police get away with violence. That's a hell of a point, Jake. And you're right. Those that work in that arena, that is your protocol. Your protocol is to teach a special needs child to de-escalate a situation, and the responsibility is put back on them. But cops don't want that responsibility for their profession. Doesn't make sense. Robin Hood, when you gonna have Jake back on? Soon, but I'm on the main show today, okay? So it's kind of the same thing, right? All right, Peyton Place, 1966. We love you and your co-host, Dr. Richie. This is one that I cannot miss each day. Well, thank you for that. David Lee, David, awesome. Have him on more, please, and we shall. He is awesome. Comrade Soul Twitch. This is why I haven't gotten a driver's license yet. All right, Dragon Goddess 420. Those poor kids are now being taught that they are victims. Yeah, yep. Okay. My next story, ladies and gentlemen, includes 2 ex-cops who allegedly spray painted a swastika onto a suspect's car. Now, this is just sick as hell, okay? Let me give you some background to this. 2 California officers, and let me put up a picture of the police chief. 2 ex-California officers have pleaded not guilty to spray painting a suspect's car with a swastika and a happy face. The former officers, Cody Weldon, 28 years of age, and Christopher Tomsick, 29, both left the Torrance Police Department last year. LA County DA George Gascon announced they're facing criminal charges for this incident. While we were not able to obtain photos of the officers, we do have a photo of the Torrance City Police Chief, Jeremiah Hart, who vowed to hold these cops or ex-cops accountable. And you see him there. He's the person in charge, okay? Hart stated the 2 officers were part of a larger internal investigation into misconduct. According to Hart, the allegations took place in January of 2020, prompting an administrative investigation in March of that year. Hart said at least a dozen officers, including Welding and Tomsick, from the department in March of 2020. Details on the 2 officers, according to the LA Times, reads as so. 2 former Torrance police officers were charged with spray painting a swastika inside of a resident's car, and prosecutors are now reviewing hundreds of cases involving the ex-cops to see if their alleged actions might imperil any arrests or convictions, officials said. I could save you some time here, District Attorney. Absolutely, absolutely. I promise you, there are cases that now you need to take another look at because you had 2 racist individuals in charge of the investigation, the apprehension, the arrest, and everything else, okay? This is what happens when you have a culture that allows individuals like them to permeate it. It's expensive. It's a public relations nightmare. And just the fundamentals of criminal justice, you can't enforce these laws if you have lawbreakers arresting people. You can't enforce them. All right, it gets deeper. Each were charged with conspiracy and vandalism in connection with that particular incident. That is it. The 2 were part of a group of officers who responded to the report of mail theft, okay? The car was potentially involved and was towed. The 2 officers allegedly decided to spray paint a swastika on the vehicle's rear seat and a happy face on the front passenger seat, according to a criminal complaint filed Thursday. Prosecutors also alleged the pair falsified a document submitted to the California Highway Patrol as part of their investigation by not including information about vandalism in the report. You know what that means? That means that they should have been charged with violation of oath of office and falsifying an official report, okay? That violation of your oath, that gets you to your felony right there, all right? The case was the result of an internal investigation by that police department, which referred the case to the DA's office in April of 2020. A sergeant, a Torrance police spokesman, said Weldon left the department in July 2020 after serving as a city police officer for a little more than 4 years. Tomsick, who was hired in August 2015, left the department in September of last year. Now, they're still getting all of this special treatment. Let me explain this. The Torrance City Attorney's Office instructed the leadership not to disclose if the officers were fired or if they resigned, okay? They instructed the leadership not to disclose that information. The DA's office is also reviewing hundreds of cases involving those officers to ensure no other alleged misconduct occurred and determine if the alleged bias act might impact any cases in which Tomsick and Weldon were either the arresting officers or called as witnesses, officials said. The case was presented as a hate crime, but the hate crime enhancement has not been filed, ladies and gentlemen. You don't get more hate crime-ish than that. So they're already receiving significant special treatment, even though they should be held to a higher standard of accountability. In 2017, Tomsick was one of several officers involved in a fatal shooting of a man at the end of a car chase. That's according to court records. Police said the suspect, Michael Lopez, was trying to ram officers when they opened fire. The DA's office declined to file charges against Tomsick in 2019. There's more. There's more. This same cop was also among a group of officers involved in a deadly struggle with a knife-wielding suspect, Daughtry Ross, at the Dale Amo Mall in 2018. The officers used a taser and physical force to try to subdue Ross, who had allegedly tried to grab for an officer's weapon during the fight. Ross died, okay? Ross is dead and died at the hospital a short time after that clash. An autopsy found a heart attack in combination with methamphetamine intoxication and struggling with officers as the cause of death. Prosecutors decided not to file charges against these cops again. Routine, consistency, patterns. We see it all the time. David, what are your thoughts?
I'm shocked by the last thing you said, that prosecutors decided not to file charges against them. I mean, there is a culture, obviously, that is rotten. These are clearly dirty, rotten cops. And look, I get that in emotional situations, and let's be clear, it's not easy being a police officer. There are a lot of things about life that are not easy, but there are every day where all of us can point and say, you know what? If I followed my emotions, yeah, maybe I might try to go punch that guy that cut me off in the street, or maybe that person who flipped me off, maybe I'd go roll them over. We're all tempted to do things sometimes. None of us is perfect, but especially a police officer, it is your job to separate your emotions, what you feel like you want to do, and what you're allowed to do legally. Because if any of us are allowed to take matters into our own hands and mete out punishment and vandalize somebody's car and taser somebody when they don't need to be tased, if any of us can take things into our own hands, then we don't have justice in society, we have anarchy. That's the danger in all this. And for people to say, well, what about the criminals? Well, now, because of these cops and their terrible record, now a bunch of criminals might actually get off because their lawyers can point back and say, oh yeah, these were dirty cops who made up something about this arrest. They have a record of it. We need a new look at this case. That's a problem.
Yep, a big problem. You know what else is a big problem? Ladies and gentlemen, I wish a Karen would.
You want to call the police on them for having a barbecue on a Sunday.
I feel free. Back off! I'm going to tell them there's an African-American man threatening my life.
My store, leave my store and stop using profanity. Leave my store, leave my store that you cannot read. Leave my store, leave my store, leave my store, my store.
You want me to rip your head off?
Go ahead and touch me. Leave my store. This will be going on social media. Leave my store. Have a wonderful day. Have a wonderful day. Have a wonderful day. Wonderful day. Thank you for judging. God don't like ugly. Thank you.
Okay, this particular Mayor Karen is telling this employee at a Subway that he is going to hell, okay? This Mayor Karen spewed homophobic slurs while being escorted out of that restaurant. This is what I have a beef with. I have a beef with the fact that so many individuals like this guy, all right, I haven't been able to identify his name yet. I'm sure that's coming as soon as we post this on YouTube, okay? They use their faith, they use their Christianity, they use their religion in order to spew hate, in order to be intolerable, to be rude, to be mean, to be disrespectful and bigoted. These are the individuals that give Christianity a bad name. And truly, they give all faith a bad name when they operate in this way, adversarial to common sense. Here's what I tell people all the time. I am a Christian man, but God gave me a brain before he gave me a book. And there are some common decencies that I know based on my humanity that I must show to everyone. And I appreciate the soul that I have to show it. I don't understand a person like this whatsoever. This guy has so much hate in him, but he thinks he's going to heaven. All right, David, your thoughts here.
My thoughts is this looks a lot like one of my former bosses, and I didn't realize that he liked to eat at Subway. But in any case, whether it's my former boss or not, let's be clear. And for everybody who's out there, there should be a reminder. There are a lot of people out there with mental health issues who get triggered very easily. And so it's the responsibility of all of us to do as the owner of the Subway did and to say, get out of my store, get out of my store. Just keep repeating it until the person leaves. I think there's also a reminder here that Subways, businesses, they are private properties in the sense that if you don't wear a mask, if you're gonna use foul language, you could be thrown out. And the rights belong to the people who own the establishment. If you wanna say dirty language out on the public square, a public street, that's one thing. But if you're in somebody's business, you gotta wear a shirt, you gotta wear shoes. If they want you to wear a mask, you have to. And if you're gonna use bad language, expect to be thrown out. So crazy.
There you go. All right, we got more. On the other side is Indisputable, stick and stay.
Cenk Uygur is not here today, which means that I will be able to talk during the show. Now,
We'll see. Poor
Cenk, under the bus.
My God, if Jesus came back, how much would the Republicans hate him? So now you have to give away all of your possessions to the poor. Steve King would be like, oh, Weezy. Everyone should be lucky enough to have a John Iadarola in their life.
You confused everyone.
Okay, sorry, I thought it was pretty clear.
Take a break now.
You can turn me into Dr. Manhattan as long as I get what Dr. Manhattan's packing, okay?
The liberal mom says, Mark Thompson, have you ever thought about doing one of those tapes that soothe people to sleep? Like Mark Thompson reads the phone book. I'd buy it.
If you'll buy it, I'll do it.
Emilio D'Amelio writes in, John, you are so thick. I love you. That's what he wrote.
Pork Chop Express writes in and says John Iadarola needs a new jacket.
Whoa.
Those 24-inch pythons are about to burst out of his sleeve.
Gun, baby. You know, the two people here said that their moms were both in love with you over Beauty and the Beast.
That's an improvement. I usually get grandmothers.
Charlie Turk.
No, wait a minute, don't you dare.
Chemical castration when we return from the break.
I hope that, who they choose for the White House isn't just a borderline Klansman. That's all we gotta hope.
That's it, we will settle it.
She's cute.
I didn't say that about Laura Ingraham.
Scandal at TYT. Did Anna comment on my tan yet? No, she hasn't.
You're a good bosser.
But Anna did say that I come in here today with a fresh mind. That's all I'm about. I'm about a fresh mind.
I can't with you right now. Okay?
She just can't. She can't, but nonetheless, we have to for another 3 hours. I'm back, baby. Let's rip in the Republicans. See, don't miss the live show. That's great. Tell people, if you're a member, you get the whole live show whenever you want, because this stuff doesn't go into any of the clips.
Welcome to the Damage Report. I'm John Idarola. This is gonna be a big one.
Meanwhile, in the Arctic, you know where this is going. You watch the Damage Report, the Arctic's on fire. Obviously, why would we be talking about the Arctic except to tell you that it's melting once again? The Republicans aren't that interested in it. I wonder why. Lift out of poverty up to 3.7 million people, including an estimated 1.3 million children. Hashtag save the children? Not if it costs money. I mean, come on.
What's happening? I'm Dr. Rashad Richey, host of Indisputable with Dr. Rashad Richey. Here's the bottom line. I play no games about policy, period. Too many people's lives are at stake. So here's what I do. I challenge conservative ideology that hinders the growth of this country. I make sure we place our facts in proper context, and I have no problem debating anyone on a position that I have. Progressives have the ideas to change the world, but when you really look at it, progressives have always changed this world for the better. I want you to tune into my new show, Indisputable with Dr. Rashad Richey, right here on the TYT Network, 2:30 p.m. Eastern Time, 11:30 a.m. Pacific Time. I'll see you there.
Everything that we've accomplished over the years is because of our members who've allowed us to remain independent of corporate interests and reach 20 million followers. Now is the time to bring as many people into the progressive movement as possible. We're inviting you to be the change and help bring a community-powered progressive change machine to life. Details are at tyt.com/change. If you're a member, thank you. We need you to remain so. If you're one of the thousands of viewers out there who's not a member yet, the time has come for you to join now. We need you more than ever. tyt.com/change.
Welcome back to Indisputable. Let me go to some of these comments. We got a lot of them. And don't forget to watch Galaxy Brain with Ben Carollo. That's right after Indisputable, all right? So make sure you stick and stay for that. TYT member, Biden flavor corn pop. David is very awesome every time he's on TYT. He is, every time. Land of 10,000 Rinks. David and Dr. Richey have a seamless presence together. We actually have a kindred spirit too. Yeah,
we do. We're brothers from a slightly maybe different mother, but I channel you, Dr. Richey. I'm right there with you.
Amen. Mickey C. the Silver-Haired Dragon. Glad they were charged, but not with a hate crime. Yeah, they're getting benefits and privileges they should not have. You are right. YouTube super chat. Oh, this is funny. The Puppet Master says, reminds me of Chris Tucker's line in Rush Hour. I love this line, by the way. This is the LAPD. We're the most hated cops in all the free world. My own mama's ashamed of me. She tells everyone I'm a drug dealer. That's one of my favorite lines actually in that movie. The AC says the US military is kinder to foreign citizens than our own police is to Americans. You are correct, okay? Chloe M, that creepy male Karen who didn't want to leave the store, he looks exactly like the one at the school board meeting the other day. Is it the same guy? No, it's not the same guy. They may be related. It, may a father-son combination here. Not the same person. Mini 20202 says, you do God's work, Doc. Well, thank you. McCoy 1303 return. Mace bear spray, not Karen spray. Songs of Sovereignty, thank you for that. Happy Aloha Friday, Dr. Richey from the Big Island. So appreciate you and your show. The truth is indisputable. That's right, and we'll appreciate you as well. Thank you all. Twitch, Finland Narrow. Why are officers driving around on duty with spray paint? You know why? Because that's not the first swastika they painted. That's why, okay? All right, ladies and gentlemen, finally, a Karen law has been used to prosecute a racist ass store owner. That's him, you're looking at him. Let me give you some background to this. A former ice cream shop owner in New York has been ordered to pay $4,500 after being accused of calling the police on peaceful Black Lives Matter protesters. He falsely claimed they threatened him with violence. There was no threat whatsoever. The protesters were there because it was revealed that the shop owner, via text, this was revealed, that the shop owner used the N-word to describe a Black former employee and that he would not hire Black people. Let's put up his picture. His name is David Elmendorf. David Elmendorf is the guy at the center of the controversy. In a lawsuit that was filed by Attorney General Letitia James in March, it's alleged that it was actually Elmendorf who was threatening violence against the protesters gathered in front of his store. This happened June 30th, 2020 initially. He reportedly referred to them as savages hanging out in Section 8 housing, along with a slew of other racial slurs. Elmendorf was accused of brandishing a .22 caliber air rifle pellet gun at the group and threatening to shoot the protesters and run them over with his truck. This actually has a very good ending. That guy, let's put his picture up again. He was arrested, okay? Elmendorf was arrested and charged with 2 misdemeanor counts of menacing related to the incident after police recovered a pellet gun, a can of ammunition, and a rifle scope in his vehicle. He became the first person to be charged under a new state law prohibiting the filing of false police reports to intimidate someone based on their race. The law was established after the infamous Central Park Karen. That was the incident last year. Everybody remembers that. Elmendorf was ordered to pay 9 protesters $500 each as a result of his actions. Should have been $5,000, but we'll take it. It's a start. That's called punitive, by the way. It is an element in the law that is meant to punish wrongdoers by taking away some of their money, okay? So he has been arrested. There's an investigation. He has to pay restitution. That's your punitive damages. And he's being prosecuted under the new Karen law. You know why? Because people like you stood up and said, these Karens are dangerous and they are out of control. Not only did it change the social understanding, it literally changed the political and policy landscape to now statutes, actual laws have been changed in order to prosecute people like him. David, what are your thoughts about this?
Well, my thoughts are Mr. Elmendorf is gonna find out the hard way that the ice cream doesn't taste so good in the big house. So maybe he should have been a little bit safer. But the other thing about it is, I mean, and we just did a story on Rebel HQ about this, about some kids who were running around Providence, Rhode Island, pointing BB guns, pellet guns at various people. They look the same as a regular rifle. And so when you do that, you are intimidating, you're threatening, you're essentially telling people to be fearful of your life, even if it may not be fearful of your life because it's a pellet gun. I mean, that's dangerous, it's reckless. And so I'm glad that they've got this Karen law in New York and they're able to use it to prosecute this guy. Clearly, he's got some serious challenges and issues and needs to be put away for a while.
Yep. And he had to sell his ice cream shop because of the mounting pressure. So he no longer owns that ice cream shop. He has definitely been penalized in various ways because of his own racism, okay? Let me bring you to Texas for a minute because the Texas Republican lieutenant governor, that fella, Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick, said something quite racist that he assumed was true because it's negative about Black people, okay? So he just made an assumption that what he's saying is accurate. Let me show you the video of his comment.
Coming after your state because the increased COVID numbers, hospitalizations, deaths are up in Texas, and there's a direct assault on your governor's policies and your state's policies. Very brief response.
Yeah. Well, Laura, the COVID is spreading, particularly most of the numbers are with the unvaccinated, and the Democrats like to blame Republicans on that. Well, the biggest group in most states are African Americans who have not been vaccinated. The last time I checked, over 90% of them vote for Democrats in their major cities and major counties. So it's up to the Democrats to get, just as it's up to Republicans, to try to get as many people vaccinated. But we respect the fact that if people don't want the vaccination, we're not going to force it on them. That's their individual right. But in terms of criticizing the Republicans for this, we're encouraging people who want to take it, but they're doing nothing for the African American community that has a significant high number of unvaccinated
TikTok
people.
videos.
So they need
We got
to
a lot
address
that.
You a damn lie. And I'm about to expose you right now. This is completely untrue, Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick. Let me bring some actual science to the forefront here. Some real data, not just your racist ideology. Here it is, Kaiser Family Studies. They have a report, let's put that report up. Okay, we're gonna get that report. I will read it to you and it will come up momentarily. It shows very clearly that the group in question, for those who are unvaccinated and vaccinated, what you see clearly, 56% unvaccinated are white people, okay? They're whites. When you look at the unvaccinated per capita based on the profile data, blacks at 14% and Hispanics are at 19%. Let me go to another one. This study also broke down something called definitely not and wait and see. Let me explain that. There are some individuals who are still in a wait and see mode. They're saying things like, I'm not really anti-vax, but I am in a wait and see mode. And then there are those who say, I am in the definitely not, no matter what happens, I will never receive the vaccination mode. Based on the data, whites in the wait and see mode are at 53%. 53%. The definitely not whites are at 69%. Blacks on the wait and see side, 18%, and definitely not only 7%. Lieutenant Governor, you're incorrect again. I have tons of data. Let's put up the next one. Once again, why do narratives like this happen? Narratives like this are perpetuated by men like him because it's a way for him to connect a negative narrative to a group of black folks. And by extension, he connects a negative narrative to Democrats as a whole. So you have your political and you have your racial. And he's trying to kill two birds with one stone, pardon the pun. But the truth is adversarial to reality, okay? The problem lies with primarily white male Republicans. That's where the problem lies. And he's not able to simply look at the data and the science and tell the truth to his own people because they don't want to hear the truth. They want to hear that somehow, whatever's happening in the world, it must be the fault of a black person. And that's why he would not be challenged by those inside of his own party to actually tell the truth. But here we do, we tell the truth. David, thoughts?
First of all, thanks, Dr. Ritchie, for bringing us the data and the facts. It's unmistakable what you pointed out, that this is largely white males that are the problem here. The problem that I see it is, Dan Patrick had a wasted opportunity with this, because imagine the conversations that are gonna happen around the water cooler at the offices, wherever on Zoom, where people are gonna say, oh yeah, it's the black people who are not getting the vaccine. Yep. Well, that's a mistake. And secondly, this lieutenant governor could have looked into the camera and said, I want to be absolutely clear to everybody. It is a responsibility on all of us as leaders of our state, of our community, to tell you the vaccines are safe. They will keep you from dying. They may not keep you from getting COVID, but they'll keep you from dying. And everybody should go and get it. And trust me, whether you're a Republican, a Democrat, independent, vegetarian, libertarian, whatever, get the vaccine. that would have had a much better impact than him avoiding responsibility and somehow trying to castigate or blame others. And so again, it's a failed leadership, and I feel sadly for the people in Texas who have to have this, not only with their lieutenant governor, but also their governor, Greg Abbott, who also has aspirations, I think, to sometimes blame others.
Yeah, and he can't even protect his damn self because he got COVID. And he's talking about being anti-mask mandates, and he now had to put out a video proclaiming that he has COVID, all right? So anyway, the hypocrisy is unreal here. My friend, always a pleasure to have you on Indisputable. Tell people how they can connect and follow your great work.
Well, Dr. Rich, it's an honor to be with you. People can see me on TYT's Rebel HQ. It's one of the many channels we have at the Young Turks. Rebel HQ, both on YouTube. You can find our stuff also on Facebook. You can look me up on Twitter at David Shuster. I'm happy to interact with the audience. And I'll take some of the audience members, Dr. Richie, that you have. They're smart and they're witty. What a great group. And so I appreciate you giving me the chance to be on. It's an honor to be with you and your team.
Man, it's a great audience, man. I appreciate you saying that, brother. Thank you so much.
You got it.
All right, we got more on the other side. Stick and stay. It's Indisputable.
Well, the Young Turks, the Friday show is gonna be awesome. We're gonna help us over here. Drop it.
We became the first ever daily online web television show.
No, the Constitution is the very core of America. The fact that we don't spy on American citizens, that we get a warrant, that we go to a judge, that we have a procedure, that we have due process, that is America.
On top of it, they go, why don't they just stay at their own schools? You gotta realize something. These schools suck. They want people to pull themselves up by their bootstraps. You ain't got no straps, you ain't got no boots.
He lit these fires in trash bins all around town out of frustration.
99th most viewed channel today on YouTube.
The Shorties Award. Best web host.
We passed 1 billion views.
Voice Award winner, news and information channel, The Young Turks. Oh, another Webby.
The Young Turks.
Can I curse? Yeah! For those of you watching on live stream, yes, we have adopted a pet iguana that showed up at our door.
Haunted version in the dark with our silhouettes.
Now let's get to the best line of the debate. It was definitely the one against police.
I told you we were coming.
When you talk about it, when it becomes a problem, our lack of gun control is a problem.
Nonsense BS story is hurting that cause, and they need to wake up and recognize that they are being had by these people.
Biggest gang in America. Question is, how do we make sure that we blame the person who is dead? What kind of democracy is that?
We should never forget that the most powerful people in the world exploited the greatest tragedy in American history to go to war in a country that had a lot of oil.
Rolling thunder. That's what this show is.
Never in my life did I think I would like to see a dictator. But if there's going to be one, I want it to be Trump.
Tick-tock, tick-tock.
Where's the line? We've crossed every line you can imagine.
We are a socialist country. It's socialism for the rich.
Tick-tock, tick-tock.
You don't have to know the truth, just believe what they tell you.
There is no bounds to their monstrous hypocrisy. Tick-tock. I think we're gonna win the Senate in 2020. And I think we're gonna have the House, and I think we're gonna have the presidency. Tick-tock.
And in 2020, we're going to clean your clock, and we're gonna run you out of town, and we're gonna have an actual democracy in this country.
November of 2020 could also be potentially the greatest day of our lives. Let us whisper of a dream.
nice back to back that I like.
Say hi to the camera.
I don't like this.
What's happening? Welcome back. We got a lot of comments. Let's get to it. Okay. We got Mickey C, the silver-haired dragon says, not only should these people who falsely call police have to pay restitution to the people they hurt, they should also have to pay for the time wasted by the police responding. Okay, that's a thought. YouTube super chat. Thank you, Daniel. David Lee, Dan is terrible. He wanted to sacrifice old people to COVID just to save the stock market. You remember that, don't you, David? I remember when the lieutenant governor of Texas went on Fox News and said that he was really the first of many who ended up saying something very similar. You're right, good memory. Sarah L, is it Yisrael? Thank you, Dr. Richard, for speaking truth for us. I'll always be appreciative. I love you and the swag in you. Thank you so much for that. I love you back. Sonic Boom Dragon 23. I feel bad for Karens who are nice, but I have never met a nice Karen yet. I actually do know nice Karens. I know nice Karens in the world. Okay, I do. There are nice Karens. Fiddling Arrow says on Twitch, Elmendorf is what you get when you cross Stephen Miller with Jake's drawing of John. Not the drawing of John. Oh my God. Okay. Drum at 9, Scratch Mark says, Patrick is definitely ramping up the rhetoric. Don't be surprised if his next step is deport the blacks. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the bullpen. In the bullpen today, an oldie, not so favorite though, Shelley Wynter, a conservative talk radio personality, and actually a very dear friend of mine. Shelley, good day, welcome to Indisputable.
You know I'm your favorite, Rashad. You keep having these other guys on there talking all kind of crazy stuff, and then when they say crazy stuff, you say, see, those are the conservatives. So, you know.
No, you say crazy stuff too, Shelley. You say crazy stuff also.
I never.
Okay,
I'm nuanced and intellectual.
Okay, we'll see, my friend. We're gonna discuss the social media suspensions that are happening. To give some background, obviously, Donald Trump has launched a class action lawsuit against these major tech companies who have social media platforms, and many of us engage with these platforms on a regular basis. I don't want to presume what you know or believe about this, Shelley. So give me your background as it relates to the suspensions that happen on these platforms.
I mean, it goes to, it's kind of the same thing conservatives have. We're mad, obviously, we're mad that the former president of the United States, who served one term, is suspended from a platform where he gets to communicate his ideas or his criticisms or whatever to the American people, particularly to the 70 million people who voted for him. So we're upset at that, obviously, but we also believe in the right of a business to do what the business wants to do. Just like we're totally supportive of the free market system to punish those businesses for doing it. So, I mean, I think the suspensions for many of us is something where we're upset that it happens, but we understand it. We understand a business should be in control of passing a mask mandate or saying you should have to be vaccinated to come into our store. And that should be up to the business to do that, not up to the government to tell the business that it has to do that. So I think we're consistent in our viewpoint on that, in that this is the same thing. If Twitter wants to ban Donald Trump, that's Twitter's right. Of course, it upsets people like me because I see Twitter banning Donald Trump and seeing other people who have said much worse things and done worse things still having a platform. So the politics of it can't go away, but I get it. I believe in the right of a private entity to be able to do what it wants to do. Now, as we get into Section 230 and all those kind of governmental policies that allow Twitter to even exist, now it gets into something different. But on the base level, if they want to do it, it makes me mad, but they have every right to do it.
Let me disagree with your conclusion. Republicans are not on the same page as it relates to private enterprise or the free market determining what happens in the free market. As a matter of fact, the man you just highlighted, Donald Trump, he does not believe as you believe. You believe, based on your assessment here on the show, you believe that Twitter and companies like it, those are free market enterprises. Those free market enterprises are able to engage in what's called self-regulation. However, Donald Trump does not believe as you believe, and 71% of Republicans agree with Donald Trump as it relates to his lawsuit against these companies. You all are significantly fractured here.
No, well, not fractured at all. I believe the lawsuit should go forward. I believe he should sue them and try and take every dime from them. I totally believe that.
But that's not the.
I'm simply saying to you that as a conservative, I believe a private business should be able to do that which it wants to.
Okay, I understand, brother. Let me make the point and I'll let you respond to the full point, okay? You all are quite hypocritical in this arena. Over 70% of Republicans agree that Donald Trump should have the authority to tell a private company that they cannot regulate his speech on their platform, okay? That's antithetical, brother, to a free market design. The free market design says that we are engaged and have the authority to do these things as private companies. So which is it? Is it?
Well, I don't know. I told you what I believe. Now, if you want to tell me,
but you also said that you all were consistent in this message, and you all are not.
But no, there's no you all. Shelley Wynter's here on the Rashad Ritchie show in the bullpen, not the Republican. Shelley Wynter, a conservative. I'm telling you what I believe in.
But you do admit that the Republicans are wrong here.
Hold on, let me tell you. So if the Republicans are wrong, if a private business, based on what you think should happen with Twitter, if a private business decides to say, I don't want people with hats on backwards to come into my business, or white t-shirts or sagging pants, will you go protest that restaurant? Because it's a private business, according to you, it should have, and me, it should have the right to do what it wants to do, right?
So let me answer that question, but I want to make sure I get your clarification on the record. You're saying that if a person believes that Twitter does not have the right to regulate their company and their platform, you're saying that person is in fact wrong, correct?
Yeah, I'm saying if a person says I'm going to sue Twitter, they have the right to sue Twitter. If they say that they don't have a right to block me off of Twitter, then yes, I think they're wrong because Twitter has the right to do whatever it wants to do. But are you prepared to sit here and say that same Twitter can block Rashad Ritchie for any number of reasons, not being policy-wise? They could just say, they could arbitrarily say.
You are saying Donald Trump is wrong, correct?
Yes, I mean, why are you asking me like I'm gonna be banned from the?
Why are you getting upset, brother?
Donald Trump is wrong.
Why are you getting mad, brother? You know good and damn well he's wrong. But 71% of Republicans think he's right. That's not a problem inside of the Republican Party?
No, it's not a problem because they think he's right from the standpoint of they believe that Twitter should not be able to ban anybody. I agree with that sentiment. Twitter should not be able to ban anybody. They shouldn't be. They shouldn't be. That YouTube should not be able to ban you. YouTube should not be able to ban me. YouTube should not be able to drop anybody that it arbitrarily wants to. YouTube should not be able to say this was misinformation and take Robert Kennedy down off of YouTube. I don't believe that. I don't believe that.
What do you, okay.
Hold on, let me say this. I fundamentally don't believe they should be allowed to do that. But I understand as private entities that they can. So that's a different, it's a nuanced answer to your question. You're trying to, I don't know why.
So that's what we call it now. When you talk out of both sides of your ass, we call it nuance. Come on, man.
It's called the gray area, Rashad. Life is not lived in the black and the white that you guys like to live in, this paradigm between right and left. Life for most of us that are pretty much common sense people, we live in the gray area.
Let me add some common sense to this argument, brother. The bottom line is the First Amendment of the US Constitution says Congress should not make a law to abridge the freedom of speech. Congress cannot do this. So anytime you're talking about a violation of the freedom of speech, if it is not being allocated, done, mandated, or even promoted by the government, then it is not a violation of that constitutional right. And you know that, I know that. Absolutely. However, brother, my point to you is this. There is a fracture in the Republican Party because while you all promote a platform of deregulation, saying that private enterprise and private market should be in the business to regulate themselves, you have lawsuits like with Donald Trump that are completely adversarial to that particular Republican notion. And the party, and this is why I bring it to you, the party fundamentally disagrees with this lawsuit based on its policy premise. But 71% of Republicans are in support of something that is adversarial to what they have historically believed for decades. You don't find that to be a problem?
No, not at all. Because again, let me explain. I tried to explain it before, you laughed it off. Let me explain.
I'm gonna laugh it off.
The lawsuit is specifically talking about stopping his ability to communicate with those people for him to communicate with as a politician. That's being blocked and halted by Twitter. So the lawsuit is intended to show that if Twitter is allowed, or Facebook is allowed, or YouTube is allowed, or any communications entity is allowed to arbitrarily decide who gets to communicate to whom, then that's the problem. That's why you filed the lawsuit. As again, I will say this, as a private entity, they are allowed to do, based on me being a free market conservative, they're allowed to do that. But it gets into the weeds when you're talking about a communications company stopping certain people from communicating a certain message that they may not like, or the person they may like, to the people that's what Republicans, 71% of Republicans are talking about. So there is a lot of nuance here. It's just not cut and dry for you to say, oh, you guys don't like this, or you guys are hypocritical. No, it's not a hypocritical. You guys are hypocritical,
but I will move on. We will agree to disagree on that point. Let me ask you this question, because the class action nature of this lawsuit about social media suspensions is quite baffling, because in the lawsuit itself, it makes a proclamation that this is a targeted attempt to specifically silence conservative voices only. This is not a lawsuit standing up for everybody to have right and access and protection on these platforms.
I just said it's not intended to. It's intended to say that Twitter.
Shelley, allow me to finish, brother.
Go ahead.
I allowed you to finish.
Go ahead.
The lawsuit, the nature of the lawsuit does not say that everyone should have protection and free access on these particular platforms. The lawsuit proclaims that only conservative voices are being adversely impacted. And so the class action suit represents conservative content creators and conservative talkers, okay? But let me ask you this question. If that is the actual genesis of this whole thing, why is it that these people still are on Twitter and Facebook and YouTube and IG and everywhere else? Candace Owens, Ben Shapiro, Larry Elder, Marjorie Taylor Greene, Matt Gaetz, the list goes on and on. How is it that these individuals who are controversial, who say things that you don't even agree with many times, why are they still able to access these platforms and others are not, if the goal is to stop conservative voices only?
Because Marjorie Taylor Greene has been blocked off of Twitter several times for statements she made. The whole point of this is we are in a different world. We're in a world now where this is the way people communicate. I communicate with you, I listen to you, I watch you, people communicate with me through Facebook, through Twitter. This is how we share ideas right now. So it's gone away from television and other sources. Now everyone gets to share their thoughts and ideas. So the point becomes is if we allow companies to arbitrarily take off, deplatform people who they disagree with politically, we're living in a dangerous time, and that's what is going on with this lawsuit. But Marjorie Taylor Greene is taken off of Twitter every couple weeks for something.
Yeah, and rightfully so. But
there you go. Why do you? So that's the point. Who determines? No. I'll end with this statement. Why do you get to determine rightfully so? Who are you?
Let me tell you. Let me break this down.
Who are you to say rightfully so?
Let me break it down to you. I'm going to answer that question, then get into my next statement. There are 3 primary categories for someone to be deplatformed, okay? And obviously the penalties vary because it could go from suspension to a full ban, right? Harmful to others, threatening to others, or repulsive to others. Now, much of that can be contextualized as subjective.
Of it is contextualized.
Listen, bro.
All of it is arbitrary.
Kind of like your nuance here, right?
No, all of it is arbitrary.
All of it has some context and obviously some level of subjectivity. But the reality is, if we're talking about major companies that are only trying to limit conservative ideology because of the politics of it, why is it that the most influential conservative talkers in America all still have access to these platforms?
Because they all have been dropped or punished at some point. You can't totally
come on, Shelley. Brother, everybody, hell, I done been in Facebook jail, brother. Come on, man.
Rashad, you're sliding the question. We know if you're being honest with if you're being honest with your listeners, you know conservatives by and large are punished more than others
because
on Twitter,
of the silly things
Facebook.
You all say.
Well, that's what you can't. Who are you to determine that you have a problem with what we all say?
If you are supporting an insurrection against the United States,
FBI
if you are supporting
an insurrection, see there you go.
Let me, brother, let me finish.
No. Because perfect example.
Shelley.
Perfect. Hold on, Rashad. Perfect example. You said you used the term insurrection for the last 5 months. You've gone on.
I use the term terrorist attack.
Hold on. You've gone on your show and you've defined what an insurrection is. The FBI just released today that they found no evidence that any of these people were trying to topple the government. None whatsoever. The FBI. So now why shouldn't you have been banned for spreading misinformation, calling it an insurrection for the last 5 months? Because you were wrong. According to the FBI, you were dead wrong. So why shouldn't you be accused of spreading, pouring gasoline on a fire that wasn't true?
First of all, let me correct you, brother. In that report, and you need to read it when you get a moment. That report actually talks about the lack of coordination between the Trump administration and those who committed acts of insurrection against the government. Let me be clear about that.
It doesn't say insurrection. You know it doesn't, man.
Brother,
you know it doesn't. Come on, man. Come
on, I'm gonna read it. You ready for this truth, brother?
No, I'm not ready for you to spin the truth.
No, I'm about to tell you. I'm about to read it to you. You ready?
Read it to me.
Okay. They did conclude that there was significant organizing among many of the white supremacist groups.
Cells, individual cells of the Proud Boys and the far right militia groups.
The definition of insurrection is any act or instance of revolt against any civil authority or an established government. The definition of insurrection is what I just read to you.
Right.
If any act, it doesn't take a group to create an insurrection. Any act or instance,
can create an insurrection
or instance, sir.
So there's an insurrection in Portland. So there's an insurrection in Washington, D.C. There's an insurrection by the left. These are insurrections also. They were against civil authority.
I want you to follow me logically here. I'm going to really try.
Logically. They were insurrections against civil authority. So were those insurrections? Yes,
sir. Let me ask you very plainly, Shelley.
No, you don't ask me. I asked you a question. Were those insurrections?
Sir, an insurrection is any revolt against civil authority or established government. Now, I've also made it clear on my show and on the radio show that this was actually an act of domestic terrorism. So I have defined it as an act of domestic terrorism.
Right,
Would you disagree?
Yes, no, I didn't. I don't disagree with that. I'm saying.
Okay, so you believe it was terrorism?
I believe you could define it however you want to.
No, brother, you just said I can't define it as insurrection. Now I can define it as terrorism.
Let's go back to the original point. You're not gonna take me down this rabbit hole.
No, you took your damn self down the rabbit hole.
I didn't. I'm trying to tell you that Twitter, should you be able to determine whether someone gets taken off of Twitter or Facebook?
Who should determine?
Who should determine?
Listen, you don't lost the point about insurrection and terrorists, but who should determine it on Twitter? Who?
You and I, by not following.
I don't own Twitter.
Well, I mean, but whoever's on Twitter, you just don't follow the people.
But that's not, listen, so that means that I should be able to decide what happens at the board of directors for any company that I do not own, right?
No, come on, man, come on. That's a ridiculous premise. The Twitter is not a board. Twitter's not a board of directors. It's not Twitter. That's a ridiculous premise. You said who should be able to determine?
Your premise is ridiculous, Shelley.
The free market should be able to determine. If I don't like Marjorie Taylor,
there you go.
I just don't follow her.
The free market. I'm glad you actually got back to.
But I will sue. I will sue on behalf of Twitter taking her platform away and not others.
One moment, brother. The free market also dictates that private corporations are owned by private citizens, and those private citizens that own these corporations, they have the ability to say, here's what we will accept here, here's what we will not accept here within the confines of law. Twitter is not violating any legal precedent nor statutory law by saying these are the things we find objectionable on our platform. We're not going to allow it. That's no violation of law, brother, right?
I never said it was. I never said it was, but I've got to go do radio. Thank you for having me.
Go ahead, brother, you're running, but it's all right, I'll get you back next time.
I'll see you next month.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, make sure you take care of yourself, take care of each other, and take care of the planet. And remember, the truth is always indisputable.